Sorry, I've just got a helicopter going over.
Ready to go, I think. We're live.
The joys of home working. Right, I think we'll kick off. So thank you to everybody who was attending this morning. This is the first of a series of webinars that ourselves, Visual and Microsoft are hosting, specifically for the police sector. This being the first one where we're going to be talking about hybrid meetings. So if we can just move on to the next slide if we can. We're just going to quickly run through some introductions. I think I'll give you a little bit of background on Visual for those who don't know us, who are attending the meeting. But then Microsoft are going to start to talk about hybrid working, how to get the most out of Teams meetings. We do have some really rich content for you around Surface and Surface devices, and how these can be integrated with Teams rooms, and delivering that innovation to you to be able to host your hybrid meetings. Now we're in the world where some people are working from home and some people are in the office and some people are out on the road, so you can really start to learn and understand how you can get the most out of not only hosting but planning and also participating in those hybrid meetings. We've got some really good examples to run through of where police forces and other organisations have deployed some good examples of hybrid working. And then we're also going to finish off with a visual offer to help you to understand where you are, but we can run through that in a little bit more detail when we get to the end. So just to give you an overview of who is here on the call, so we've got Ian Stretton from Visual, who's our Cloud Transformation Director. There's myself, Caroline Souter, and one of the account directors and also head up our UK policing sector here at Visual. We've got Lee Fairmanor, who is a Teams technical specialist from Microsoft, and we've got Liam Cox, who's Surface technical specialist at Microsoft as well. So I'll just quickly run through a very quick overview about Visual. So for those of you who don't know us, we've been around for about 16 years, UK-based organisation, specifically focusing with public sector organisations. We do everything from consultancy through to managed services. We also have an education department, an education team who deliver training, adoption, and also, for quite a long time now, we've been delivering an apprenticeship program as well, which is really helping with the digital skills gap. We've got all of the badges that you would expect from a tier 1 Microsoft partner. So we're a Microsoft Azure Expert MSP. We have a load of accreditations which are very welcoming within the police sector itself. Gold partner across 15 categories, a lot of those that you would expect around identity and security, as well as obviously the M365 platform. But we're also really focusing around our advanced specializations as well. So everything that you would expect from a Microsoft partner, but really focused in on public sector and everything that public sector would expect. Our credentials within the policing sector. So we do have a very long history of working with UK police forces. Over our 16-year history, we have engaged with over 40 forces in one capacity or another. But we are very closely aligned to the Microsoft policing teams, but also very closely aligned to the NEP and to the police digital service as well. So what we have really done and strive to do with our strategy with policing is to work really closely with the Microsoft teams to understand exactly what the policing sector have invested in from a Microsoft perspective, and then how we then align that to the digital policing strategy as well, so we can really help police forces to understand how to get the most out of Microsoft investment, but then how that aligns to the police digital strategy as well. As I said, we work very closely with both the NEP and Police Digital Service. Police Digital Service we actually provide IT managed services to, and as part of that we obviously support the NEP and a number of other organisations with not only just their day-to-day end user IT support, but also helping to understand from a strategic perspective. So the policing sector is a real key focus for Visual. It has been for a number of years, and it will continue to be in the future as well. And now I think I'm handed over to Lee.
Indeed, thanks Caroline. Good morning everyone. So my name's Lee Fairminer and I'm a Teams technical specialist working at Microsoft and I'm aligned to police forces across England. And I want to talk to you today about hybrid meetings, in particular Microsoft Hybrid Meetings, our flexible solution for a hybrid world. So since the pandemic, Microsoft has taken an active role in understanding the realities, the effects, the potential of our new work situations, including remote and hybrid. We actually released the Microsoft Trend Work Index survey, which was conducted by an independent research firm, and it covered over 31,000 full-time and self-employed workers across 31 markets. And the results were fascinating. And the main point that came out of this really is that hybrid work is here to stay. 73% of employees have expressed that they want flexible remote options. At the same time, 67% of employees want more in-person work or collaboration post-pandemic. So obviously this is driving our leaders to consider redesigning office space for hybrid work. And another key learning from the report is the fact that employee productivity is masking an exhausted workforce as well. People are worn out, and this is definitely a wake-up call for leaders to make the employee experience an important element of new work styles and settings like hybrid. The simple fact is that hybrid has transformed how we will work. We all remember where we were before all of this. We had standardized work hours, we had dedicated focus and work time, and we had an environment built for work that controlled the number of distractions that were around, so we could focus better. And over the last year and a half, we've undergone a radical shift, almost a kind of global experiment in how office work happens. And it's led to a decrease in work-life balance. It has on average doubled the number of meetings that we have, and many of us have to do a total shift to remote-only work. And in that environment, staying engaged was significantly harder. We had to figure out how we deal with the kids and the pets being all around at the time, and the home environment often wasn't designed for work. And now we're coming out the other side of all that. A lot of people are returning to the office, but what they're returning to isn't quite the same as what we had before. We have a situation now where people have gotten used to managing their own time and work-life balance, and they want to be able to collaborate and work now on their own terms. They want to have that work style and the schedule that works for them, that makes them most productive, and they need to make sure that even if they're attending remote or on the go, that they still feel included, and they want to feel like they're equal participants. And perhaps even harder, everyone still needs those daily interactions to feel more like connections, more natural and immersive, so we don't have a situation where people feel disconnected just because we're not all together in the same space. So this is the world we're in now, and when we talk to the customers, what we hear is, in the word, is confusion. People are back and they're telling us, look, business as usual 2 years ago isn't a business as usual now, even with us back in the office. We've got people who want to know how do we do core things like retain and attract talent, when they know that people working from home might feel more productive but less connected, and it might make them hungrier for other opportunities. How do you deal with that? And then we're also hearing how hard it is to get everyone on the same page when they're not in the same place. So planning, organising, etc. Everything seems harder to balance. And balance is a word we hear all the time when people talk about this new work reality. Balancing work and life, balancing distractions, balancing security risks, balancing budgets and balancing the business. In a world of confusion, it can be really difficult to get that right balance. And that's not surprising because meetings have always served as a way of bringing people together to solve problems. And in a hybrid world, the reality is that hybrid meetings are incredibly complex. Employees are asking new questions from a new perspective. How do I feel like I'm in the room when I'm not? What would I benefit from if I was actually in that room together? And what would the technology look like? And how can I be more effective? And the managers and senior leaders are asking different questions. How do I make everyone feel like they can contribute? How do they ensure that flow of work isn't disrupted? And people are working together on a deliverable, even if they're working on different times and different places. And how do we manage where all these work-life balance issues going on? And then at a larger organisation level, we have the leaders wanting to know if employees will still feel like part of the team when they're rarely in the office or surrounded by their peers. And they're asking core questions about what they can do to continue building a sense of organisational culture and team cohesion. The most flexible solution for a hybrid world and these emerging challenges is, of course, Microsoft Teams. It's the most intuitive way to connect, to collaborate, and create in real time or asynchronously, helping you to accomplish more together. We're going to talk today about those challenges you're facing and how hybrid meetings provides that full and comprehensive solution for your hybrid needs. Throughout our days, we often find ourselves transitioning from individual work to group-based work, potentially many times in one day. And doing so, we find ourselves moving from space to space, from individual spaces to group spaces. We need to consider what device people might be using, and this varies depending on those spaces. People on the go may use their mobile. In an office setting, people may use a PC or a laptop paired with an audio and video peripheral, or even an IP desk phone. So as workers move to working in a shared space, they're faced with different types of rooms, like small huddle spaces, focus rooms, open communal areas or touchdown spaces, and of course conference rooms in every shape and size. And depending on that space type and scenario that the space is designed to support, people may be faced with different kinds of meeting devices like collaboration bars, Microsoft Teams rooms and Surface hubs. And while that transition from space to space and device to device may seem complex, it's made seamless when you unify all your devices with Microsoft Teams. If we take a look here, throughout a typical working day, work can be streamlined from joining a call from home early to an in-office meeting throughout the day to collaborating on the go or across a variety of different devices. So Teams meetings is built to help you run those meetings more smoothly with features like noise cancellation, agenda syncing, sharing files and chatting with colleagues, all which make collaboration easier and presenters have more confidence knowing that their meetings will run more smoothly. In the case of the police forces, you may have an inspector that may be talking to an officer about what's going on for a particular shift. And then the use cases there would be being able to go into a room and have these type of frontline briefings where they may connect their laptop to a screen or an MTR device, be able to talk through some of those current challenges or things to be looking out for on a particular shift, and being able to annotate and PowerPoint real-time collaboration from that laptop, and then to be able to sync that to a smart device that an officer on the beat or out on a patrol would be able to access from a smartphone or a tablet device, or even something like a Surface Go, which my colleague will talk a little bit about in a few slides' time. So hybrid meetings with a mix of online and in-person attendees, these aren't new, but with months and months of online meetings, it has definitely changed our expectations. We've come to rely on the technology to provide everyone an equal opportunity to be seen and heard, and hybrid meetings must support these seamless collaborations between the people who choose to return to work on site and those continuing to work remotely, and Teams members in different geographic locations as well. So to accomplish this, we need to bring some of the online meeting etiquette back to the meeting room with us. It may seem obvious, but a key thing here, you need to be kind and considerate of others and ask what helps people to feel included and comfortable. We aren't going back to the meeting status quo, so our challenge is to hold hybrid meetings where everyone can feel comfortable and inclusive. Teams and our meeting rooms experiences are evolving to support new ways of working, but hybrid meetings may not feel natural at first to everyone. So how can we improve some of those hybrid meeting practices? A few practical tips and a bit of advice from our experience that we use internally here at Microsoft is when having a hybrid meeting, groups should explicitly address those imbalances of remote participants. At the beginning of smaller meetings, get into the habit of having a round of introductions and make sure everyone knows and is aware who's on the call, whether they're together in the room or if they're remote. Consider letting the remote participants know at the beginning of a meeting how they're being seen and heard in that room. Are they being seen in the front of the room, on a large display or a laptop, through a central speaker? All of this helps those remote participants judge how to engage and opens the opportunity for those remote participants to choose how they're seen and heard. And if this then changes substantially during that meeting, for example, during a screen share, it may also be relevant to notify participants of that change because it may affect their ability to participate. And when including people with disabilities on the meetings, the organiser of the meeting should try and ensure that their needs are communicated at the beginning and should then model those relevant behaviours. For example, if we had someone with a vision impairment in a meeting, and especially with new people joining, ensure that everyone says their name when they speak for at least the first time. And if a screen sharing is used, ask that sharer to more explicitly describe what's going on and what they're showing. If there's an attendee with hearing difficulties, making them aware up front or via the chat of the live captioning and transcription features we have available, which they can enable. Making sure that people stay aware of participants who might be unusually quiet and to ask for their input if appropriate. This is especially important in hybrid meetings when remote people are less visible and therefore may be easily left out of a conversation. Using the technology to take turns in speaking with features like raise hand. When the attendees are in the room and online, use that raise hand feature, and then comments and questions can be addressed in order using the participant pane, and everyone then has an equal voice. When multiple people put their hand up, they'll be listed in order which they raised them with the new features that are rolling out. And taking into account other group practices, such as reaching out for feedback and having regular pauses to let people interact, that helps to support predictable and orderly turn taking to make participating more accessible and equitable. Especially if meetings are larger or people are unfamiliar with each other, set out those rules of engagement at the outset so people are clear on how best to indicate when they want a turn to talk. Or if interruptions need to be kept to a minimum in a hybrid meeting, these rules might be different for people in the room versus joining remotely. Remote people might need ways to bid for their floor more conspicuously. So it may well be necessary to appoint a moderator whose job is partly to look for those people who wish to speak, monitoring the chat, monitoring the participant panes for raised hands, etc. And at the close of those meetings, ask everyone for final comments or input. In hybrid meetings, it's especially important to check that those remote participants are acknowledged before the end so they aren't forgotten and people don't just simply leave the room. Of course, using features such as Whiteboard in the cloud to capture and share ideas. So using Whiteboard in Teams rather than the in-room Whiteboard so everyone can participate as well. And watch this space for enhancements that we have coming soon in that space as we continue to improve that experience across all of the platforms and devices that we have. And if a single presenter wants to capture notes or sketch on a physical whiteboard, use things like the content from camera sharing feature in Teams with your device's camera or USB camera to digitize that physical whiteboard. And finally, try and capture the conversations and share outcomes by turning on recording and transcription to capture the conversation for those who can't attend or who dial in on the go. And then everyone invited will have access afterwards. You can post links into the chat to the presented content and capture those shared notes. And soon other features we have, such as live components, will support co-creation of those meeting outcomes. So some of the most common meeting types we're seeing our customers run effectively now in Teams are those such as status meetings. So when you need to give project updates and align on current or upcoming work, examples could include team meetings, daily scrums, and V-team syncs. And status meetings may be one-on-one, or they may have multiple attendees. And they primarily focus on productivity while trying to make connections at the same time. So these could either be recurring or scheduled meeting invites, or perhaps a channel meeting. Trying to keep these short and focused by arranging those from 15 to 60 minutes. Then we have strategic meetings when you meet to make more long-term plans and create approaches to new opportunities or adjust existing plans to better address your goals. Examples include fiscal year or semester planning and strategic leadership offsites. Typically, these are 60 minutes or longer. And if you are looking to do a much longer session over an hour, we'd recommend that you provide breaks as well to keep people fresh and engaged. And again, these can be well suited to channel meeting for ease of access and allows you to easily create privacy and security with meeting and logging settings if you need to ensure just the right audience is in attendance. And you can feature presenters by spotlighting the video or make use of whiteboarding, polls or surveys to keep these things interactive. Then we have the tactical type of meeting where you need to address a blocker or a challenge in order to keep work moving forward. Examples here could include meetings for incident management, command center scenarios, and mitigation plan activation. These could be ad hoc due to their nature, so using the Meet Now feature, where you might want to escalate a one-to-one chat that you're having with a colleague to then pull in wider participants into that incident. Or again, if you want to keep these organised and in a place that you can refer back to them, schedule an invite and send that out to a channel meeting. It may well be appropriate for ongoing incident teams to easily refer back to previous issues in a particular channel. And also you can make use of channels in tabs for tools that you might reference frequency in that meeting, like support ticketing systems, and also take advantage of being able to forward emails into that channel for discussion as well. Then we have the informative meetings when you're planning events to share information with large audiences. This may well include providing broad updates at key points in the year, or sharing some new plans for the organisation, or just discussing organisational health or deliver broad training. And these recommendations can apply to training sessions for large groups, several hours or even days. So you could look to utilise large meetings up to 1,000 attendees with webinars if rich interactions are required, or a live event if it's a much broader, larger audience up to 10,000 users, where it's much more of a one-to-many type broadcast. Then we have the ideation type meetings when you take time for the blue sky thinking and brainstorming, whether you're designing an experience, performing vision work, or just brainstorming new ideas. These sessions often bring together people from across the organisation and partners in different organisations, and sometimes partners from outside the company. These could be 60 minutes or longer, and channel meetings or custom meeting invites would be probably the recommendation here. And we'd have to take advantage of features like breakout rooms to go away and brainstorm in smaller groups. Then you can reconvene back in the main meeting to discuss and present back your findings. And finally, not forgetting social. When you've got planned or unexpected time to socialise with teammates, celebrate milestones and achievements, or just to catch up. Examples here again could include both events with planned entertainment, activities and informal coffee chats. Again, if you're featuring things like entertainers, you could make use of the spotlight features here and use features like together mode or custom backgrounds to inject some fun into the proceedings. Now, for a moment, just want to talk about when the attendees are joining from their own personal workspace. Consider turning on your video. People in the meeting room need to see you as easily as they can see each other. Video helps us identify who's present and speaking and notice on non-verbal cues. I know some people can now get a bit of video fatigue from all the meetings that they've been joining remotely, but particularly in the hybrid space where we're trying to make all those connections, using video is key. And also, sounds obvious again, but speak up. People in the room may get swept up in the excitement of meeting together and they could revert back to their old habits, having side conversations and talking over each other. So don't be afraid to respectfully remind those that are in the room that remote attendees need to feel included as well. And use features in Teams to participate. You can express yourself in the Teams meetings. We have live emotions, so if there's a content or a slide coming up that you enjoy, express that with one of the emotions. You can start those side conversations in a chat rather than talking over each other, so you can multitask and still get the information that you need, but being far less disruptive. And again, using the raise hand when you've got something to say, put your hand up so that people can take your opinion into account. And finally, making sure the display that you're using to view the meeting is aligned with the camera through which your remote colleagues are seeing you. So in general, if you have two screens, for example, decide which would be your task space and which would be your people space, and then align your camera with the people space so that you're looking, so people aren't looking at the side of your face. They get much more of an eye contact and a natural feeling. So at this point, I'd now like to hand over to my colleague Liam to talk to you around our surface range and how this could benefit your users in these scenarios.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lee. I will just bring up my screen quickly. That's great. Thank you very much, Lee. So just to introduce myself, I'm Liam, a Surface specialist here at Microsoft, and I wanted to quickly share with you today a quick roundup of our Surface product portfolio, but also how important these devices are to helping with hybrid meetings as well. And I think what's really important to note before we start is that because many of us are agile working at the moment, our new office has become our home space, or my office at home, and therefore we need a device that can provide us with everything that our meeting room did as well. And that's where Surface products really come in for those agile or mobile working environments. I've just got a quick slide here as well that briefly shows you our product portfolio. So I just want to start off by talking you through this portfolio and some of the new updates we've actually brought out for each device as well. So it's worth mentioning that this is our fourth device launch since the pandemic. So we've had 2 years to adapt all of these different devices to the new style of work we're all trying to deal with as well. And we've tried to make the devices to assist you as best possible with this new style that we're working in too. So to start off with, we have Surface Duo 2. This is our new mobile device, and we really created the original Duo to showcase the best of M365 and give you that dual screen productivity. So, however, you'll see here that we've now actually added to Surface Duo 2 an entirely new triple camera array, and on the back of the Duo, you can actually see the cameras there, and it just makes it that much easier to actually take a picture rather than before having to fold open the Duo. And also, inking's so key to Surface, and we've now actually added the feature as well where you can simply put your pen onto the magnetic case of the Duo, and that will wirelessly charge the pen for you as well. And as you can see here as well, any notifications that come up, you'll actually get on the side of the Surface Duo, which is just a really cool feature. And also that side of the Duo, the bar will light up green too when you're charging it to see how much you've charged. So some really cool new features on the Duo. But what's really key with Duo is, of course, those two screens, and that quite simply just gives you room to do more. And especially in policing, when you're constantly trying to multitask, whether that's trying to focus on an incident that you're at whilst taking notes, or in that more relaxed setting like we are now, just on a Teams call whilst trying to access your files at the same time. And this is where the dual screen device is really the only option you have. And now what you can see here again is Surface Duo just showcasing M365, but it's also now got 5G on it, so you can do that from anywhere. And so that's Surface Duo 2, and where this really fits into policing is, of course, for those officers either on the job or just for anyone who's maybe not so mobile but wants that ability to multitask as well. So that's Duo 2. Then we also have Surface Go 3. So Surface Go 3 and the Pro range is sort of our more mobile devices, and I'll go into a bit more on Go 3 now as well. So here we've got Surface Go 3. Now, Go 3 is actually the only 11-inch Windows device on the market. And like I mentioned earlier about building these devices for hybrid work, Go 3 may be smaller and more portable, but it still has that 1080p camera on it and also studio mics as well to make sure that you can still have an impact in those Teams calls that you're in. Also, it still manages to fit all of this into a 10th generation Intel i3 processor as well. And again, this is focused on those frontline police officers or custody sergeants or anyone who has that, who needs that light, flexible device, but still wants it running full Windows 11 as well. So that's Go 3. Then also we have the Pro range. Now, when you think of Surface, you probably think of Surface Pro. It's what we're most associated with and probably what we're most proud of as well. These are our 2-in-1 devices, so they combine that laptop level performance with the flexibility of a tablet as well. So to start off with the Surface Pro 7 Plus, this is really your classic Surface Pro, and it's got everything you need in there. Also, there's Pro X, so this has LTE available. So if you're on the move, Pro X is really what you need there. And then there's also Pro 8. So Pro 8 is brand new. We just released it in September, and I'll talk you through a bit more on Pro 8 now as well. So Pro 8 actually has the same chassis size as Pro 7 did, but the screen has actually increased 13 inches due to a reduction in bezel sizes. So you may see that there's also now a new section in the keyboard as well where the pen fits in. This basically means that with your pen, you can keep it charged in your keyboard whilst using it, and it will actually be hidden. So I'll show you here. You can actually see here just where the pen fits in nicely. So it just fits into the keyboard there. And then when you're using it in what we call stage mode, which is just here, it will hide the pen away. But if you want to use it, of course you can. You can just pull it out and use it in that tablet format as well. Pro 8 also now has an 11th generation Intel processor, and this comes with an Intel Xe graphics card. So that's the best possible graphics card too. And now for policing, again, this is suited to police staff who may be moving around but still want to use this as a tablet as well, but aren't necessarily on the go all the time, so don't need Surface Go, for example. I'll just take you quickly back to the portfolio. So that was Duo 2, Go 3 and the Pros. There's also Laptop Go and Laptop 4. So Laptop Go is our ultra light laptop device. And again, it's for those people who maybe don't necessarily want that 2-in-1. They want a Go they can sit in their lap in a police car, for example. That's where Laptop Go really comes in. And then there's also Laptop 4. So Laptop 4 is very similar to Pro on the inside. But again, if you want that form factor of a laptop instead of a Pro, that's what laptop's there for. And we spoke a lot about the portability of all of these devices, but Laptop 4, even though it's maybe not as portable and doesn't have the tablet as the 2-in-1s, it's still under 1 kilogram and is that sleek device for taking it to and from work. And what's key and consistent throughout all of these devices really is that they're all sleek and premium looking, and with hybrid work, some employees' only experience of their organisation is through their device. So the device has, in essence, become their office. And we find this so important to have fresh and modern designs across the full Surface family, because this is what employees see and this is how they associate that. This is what they associate their work with. So we want them to feel invested in when they're using Surface products as well. And of all of our devices, Laptop Studio is just here. This is the most powerful Surface device we've ever created, and arguably the most modern as well. So you just see on this visual here, you can actually see the inside of Surface Pro, which is a bit of a weird place to start, but what I wanted to show you is the materials we actually use to allow Surface Laptop Studio to be put into stage mode. So stage mode is just where it's up and just being used, as you can see here, but it can actually be put into studio mode. Now, studio mode is where you push it completely flat. And even though this surface is really powerful and would be targeted to any police wanting to use data manipulation or just any high powered work, it still has that ability to put it completely flat and use it for inking as well, which is something that's really key across all of the Surface range as well. And then just back to the portfolio. So that's our Pro range, Duo, Go, and our laptops. But there's also Studio 2. So Studio 2 we found has been very successful when you're using it for CCTV analysis or forensics teams. That's really anyone that just wants that bigger screen to do their work on and wanted a more of a desktop feel so they can just have it set in one room. And finally, there's also Surface Hub 2S. Now, Surface Hub 2S is our all-in-one collaboration device. So as you can see here, this is Surface Hub 2S, and it was really built for teamwork, for both in-person and hybrid work as well. And this is done using digital whiteboard and Microsoft Teams. So the hub can actually join Teams calls, as you'd expect, and on calls, it can actually share its screen, showing the digital whiteboard as well. And because Whiteboard is an app available not just on the hub, it's on all Windows devices, it means that people from home can be working on a whiteboard and you can be working on the same whiteboard on the hub, bringing that true hybrid work feel to your meetings. And this is also great for presenting in person. So we've seen it used by police forces to brief their officers before they go out for the day. And we found it can be a great tool for that, to allow them to visualize what they're going to be doing for that day ahead. And it also comes on this mobile roam stand you'll see here. So the mobile roam stand really is perfect if you're looking to move it around and just make it that more portable device as well. So that's Surface Hub 2S. So I'll just take you back to the family here and give you a quick roundup, because that's just a brief overview. And I recognise that, of course, there is a lot on this slide. It's a big family. And the whole idea of that is because we wanted to create a device that can suit every use case almost, and make sure that all of these can work alongside of each other as well. So just to round up, there's Duo, which of course is the mobile device, which is perfect for being on the go. Also, there's Go 3, which again is that more portable device. Just because of its size, it means it's easier to carry around. There's also the Pro range, which again, because of the 2-in-1 tablet factor, you could use it just at home, but you could also, it's very easy to just take it into the office and use it as a tablet as well. There's the Laptop, Go, Laptop 4, which again are still light devices, but maybe a bit more fixed and are for that laptop form factor. There's Laptop Studio, which is the high powered use cases really. Studio 2, which is the desktop, and then Surface Hub 2S, which is that meeting device, but again comes on that mobile roam stand, so really handy for moving around too. And then we also have some accessories as well, which I'll go into. So these accessories are actually team certified, which basically means that the hardware is best suited for audio and Teams calls. So it means it has more premium speakers and high quality microphones on it as well. And we really produce these because, of course, everyone is working at home at the moment, and we wanted some accessories that we could pair with our devices to make sure everyone can be heard in the way that they need to. They're not distracted by the dog, for example. And so they start off with Surface Headphones 2 Plus. Now, Headphones 2 Plus, these are our noise cancelling headphones. They are high quality and actually come with a USB dongle as well. And this dongle allows you to extend the range of the headphones. And it also means that you just get greater reliability for your connection as well. So I should also note that you don't need to use the dongle with these headphones. A lot of people don't necessarily like having the dongle. So it just means you can connect them with Bluetooth if you didn't want to use them like that as well. There's also the wired and wireless headsets. So these two headsets, again, these both have flip to mute microphones. So if you just want to mute, it's as simple as pulling up that microphone rather than having to look around on your computer. Also, they have LED lights on the end of both of the microphones. So this just gives you a better idea of whether you're on mute or not, which obviously we've all been caught out on, I'm sure, in the last 2 years of whether you're on mute or not. And also the wired headset just comes with these Teams controls as well. It just makes it a lot easier to mute yourself rather than having to look around on your PC, for example. And then there's also the USB speaker. So the USB speaker just brings a higher quality audio to any Teams calls you may be on. And this easily connects via a USB cable to your device, but also has a handy cable management system, which means that you can actually just tie the cable around the speaker, and it comes in a portable travel case, so you can just chuck it in your bag and go anywhere. And finally, there's also the Microsoft Modern Webcam. Now, the Modern Webcam was produced really, even though we have brilliant cameras on, of course, all of the devices, sometimes you just want that different angle to be on your Teams calls and a greater field of view, and that's exactly what the Modern Webcam was really built for. And it also has a privacy shutter as well, just to make sure any team calls are as secure as possible. And then this is just the final slide really, and it's just the Surface devices and where they sort of fit in for policing, because there is of course a big family. It just gives you a good idea of where you think it may fit in for any particular policing role. But that gives you a good idea for all of that, and feel free to reach out to myself or Brett Johnson, and we can speak a bit about where the devices would fit in for you if you like. But from all of that, I'll pass back on over to Lee, and that's everything on Surface really.
That's great. Thanks, Liam.
No problem. Thank you, Lee.
I think that gives a great overview of where the Surface portfolio can just add value to the personal and the remote worker setups that we have, and the fact that there's devices there for all budgets. So as we consider what work was like pre-pandemic, those who worked from the office had the advantage, while those who were working remotely often felt disconnected and less empowered, and less part of the collaboration that was happening between the people in the room. So as we all worked from home during the pandemic, we were all working from relatively the same playing field, with similar advantages and possibly similar disadvantages. But what happens as we begin to transition back into the office? Will we be able to maintain that feeling of inequality across those meeting experiences? Will we feel just as empowered to working from home as our colleagues who go back into the office? We want to remove all of those barriers that exist between the spaces and deliver equitable meeting experiences for everyone, wherever they choose to work or whatever device they choose. That's why it's key to ensure that we have the right technology in the meeting room spaces in the office as people return to work. Teams rooms are designed specifically for this. They foster inclusive, collaborative meetings, so bridging the gap between those workspaces and ensuring everyone has a place at the same virtual table, no matter where they join from. And they deliver consistent and intuitive Teams experiences that allow people to easily schedule, join and participate in meetings quickly. So if you've got a Teams room set up and a center console, you can walk straight into that room, join immediately with no hassle of trying to scrabble around finding cables to connect to different devices. And they give you the ability to turn any space into a Teams room with a wide selection of devices to flexibly scale and fit every need of the space. And of course, to keep devices secured, reliable and up to date through our rich management capabilities in the Teams Admin Center. So let's talk a little bit about the best approach for selecting the right device for shared spaces. As mentioned, there are a number of different options to address different needs for any size and type of room. We have modular systems that consist of a center room touch panel control, so you can manage the meeting without leaving your seat, and AV and peripherals like speakers, mics and cameras can be added on and bolted on depending on how many you need in a particular space. These systems provide that maximum flexibility and it's really easy to scale up. Then we have integrated systems, so the middle image that you see there, these integrated systems bring together the speakers, the mics, the cameras and computer together in a single compact device. So it's really easy to deploy and simple to manage. And because of their size and simplicity, they generally work really well for the small spaces like focus rooms or small meeting spaces or exec offices even. And then Teams rooms can be experienced through an all-in-one device, such as the Surface Hub that Liam just talked us through. It's a brilliant Windows 10 device, and it brings together the camera, the far-field microphones, speakers, and a really fantastic 4K touchscreen for collaboration. And pair that with the roaming stand and the battery pack option, the Surface Hub can then move with you for an uninterrupted mobile collaboration into other spaces. So most organisations tend to have a blend of spaces designed to support different kinds of meetings. So Teams Rooms offers a variety of form factors to ensure we can meet those needs in every space. So let's take a quick look at some of the meeting type configurations and recommendations. We look at the two types of scenarios here, and we've broken these into two general buckets. So there's a meet and present in the first bucket, and this meeting is generally more formal. AV is a priority and there's a focus on presenting the content. The device is typically fixed and it allows users to remain seated while interacting with the device from a center table console. Then below we have the meet and the co-create. So these are generally less formal with a priority on co-creation, inking on whiteboard. Access to personal files is also a focus for this bucket. And that device, as I said, can be mobile on the stand, encouraging users to stand up, move it around, gather around it and interact with the device. The next variable is the room type. As you can see along the top there, we move from small spaces like an executive office and focus rooms to much larger spaces like large conference rooms, or even could be auditorium type spaces. Next, we have to take into account the room type and the capacity. So how many people that space is intended to accommodate. And final room variable there is the room dimensions or the size of the room. Surface Hub is an absolutely fantastic device, but there's no good sticking that into a massive auditorium space and expecting for someone to be heard at the back of the room if you just had that device alone servicing it. And finally, we look at the product capabilities themselves. What can this device do and what can it support? And when we consider all those variables and the full product portfolio along with the capabilities, we get some of our top recommended device configurations here. So sort of using this matrix, if you're starting in the far left-hand side there and you're looking for more of a formal meet and present in a very small executive office, then an integrated device like an Android collaboration board might be for you. If you go right to the other end of the scale on the far right-hand side, and we're in an extra large meeting space, we want to have that more formal meet and present capability. Looking at Microsoft Teams rooms and the modular devices where you could put multiple cameras across the room, you could have ceiling mics and the center console compute, maybe exactly the requirement there for that type of area. So how do you know what device you need for your shared space? Well, there's a number of different variables to consider as well before you can make the right selection. Here are some of the variables and examples up on the screen there that can influence these decisions. What's the budget? How many rooms are you looking to configure? What's the size of the space and the kind of furniture configuration that you have planned in there? It's key as well. How many people will the space accommodate? What are the meeting behaviours that will take place? Will it be the formal or informal, or are these particular behaviours that you as an organisation are looking to drive? Are there requirements on the budget for installation and device management? Or is there a preference for a specific OS or specific set of features? And finally, is there an existing relationship with an OEM or a particular manufacturer? Then of course you have to take into accordance the type of environment that you're in as well. I've been in meeting rooms as well where it's all hard glass surfaces, so you may need to take into account having things like sound baffling or particular mics that are configured so they don't have sound bouncing around the room. Of course, this is by no means a comprehensive list, but you can start to see how each of these points can be really important in selecting the right device or combination of devices. I just want to point out as well, just because you make a decision on one particular vendor for like an MTR modular room, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to stick for that same vendor if you're looking at collaboration bars. You can absolutely mix and match all these types of devices and vendors. But this is definitely one area where partners can help you to facilitate and workshop to capture those requirements, and they can give advice on their experience to how to best achieve the best outcomes. And as you'll see, sometimes the best combination of devices in a Teams room include both a Surface Hub and an all-in-one modular device. So these devices can be joined to the same meeting using the coordinated meetings feature and using any one of the meeting join options. One touch, voice assistant, proximity join, both devices joining the meeting simultaneously with the modular Teams room solution running the audio and video for you. And the Surface Hub then gets automatically muted to avoid any distracting feedback. During the meeting, users can then maximize the screen real estate and really get the best out of that collaborative experience. Now I'm going to just play a quick short video, and this will just give you a bit more of a feel for how this would play out with a Teams solution. think that helps bring to life some of the great features and the benefits that you can get from innovations coming out of the Teams platform. And I just want to highlight some of these are our upcoming features that have been announced and talked at our Ignite conference recently. So some of these are planned to roll out over the next few months. Absolutely, you need to look at Microsoft 365 roadmap website, and then you can track these features and find out exactly when they'll become available to you and your tenants. But first off, I just wanted to talk about our new Fluid components. These allow you to collaborate across Teams, Outlook, OneNote and Whiteboard. So really streamlining your workflow when you're working together. You can see on the animation there, there's an example of how the Fluid components can help when setting up a meeting. Everyone can then collaborate and align on that agenda ahead of the meeting, so each meeting can be as effective as possible. And with things like the profile card, you can hover over that, find the attendee information just by clicking on their name and picture, so you know who you're going to be speaking with. And of course, the Whiteboard and Teams, which is a virtual first keyboard friendly experience. It lets all the meeting attendees brainstorm and collaborate on the same digital canvas. As I mentioned earlier on, we've got many more features coming in the Whiteboard, and its integration with Fluid components as well will allow you to collaborate seamlessly on those bits of work in other places such as Teams chats. And then we have our feature called PowerPoint Live in Teams. That gives you a really simple way of sharing your presentation, and you'll be able to see what's being seen by others, your speaker notes, your timing, your upcoming content, and a view of all the attendees on one screen. And then finally, Slide Translate. This allows attendees to see the presentation in their own chosen language. It's much easier to create immersive and engaging meetings in Teams as well, with things like dynamic view that optimizes your meeting views. As content gets shared and people join remotely from conference rooms, the layout automatically adjusts so you get the best of your screen estate. And then presenter mode, which allows you and your content to stand out and make your presentation shine. You can use presenter mode to upgrade from standard sharing and customize how the audiences see the video feed and other content. And then you can really increase audio engagement and connection and reduce meeting fatigue with features such as Together mode, which has that unique look and feel and makes for more effective meetings. When the meeting's over, then we have meeting recap. That provides everything you need if you couldn't attend the meeting. As part of the meeting recap, the agenda, the notes, the tasks are automatically shared within the context of the meeting, along with any recordings and transcripts that took place. You can access this via your Teams client or even through the Outlook invitation in your calendar as well. And the transcription is captured automatically in near real time. So it's available during and after the meeting. And it actually has speaker attribution, so it identifies who's speaking when. And because the agenda notes are all task Fluid components, you can continue to collaborate after the meeting and update those after. In the past, we often chose to come into the office to deliver important presentations, but we're investing to make remote presentations as effective and immersive as possible. So hybrid presentations are not just about delivering the content, but also engaging the audience with non-verbal cues. And Cameo is a new feature that will be launched in PowerPoint. You'll be able to put your video feed where you want it to appear on different slides. So when you're talking, you can actually express and emote whilst you're presenting your slides at the same time. Other meaningful meeting experience that we have rolling out, like being able to help your team set expectations before the meeting kicks off by assigning roles as well. So in the scheduling form, in the animation scene there, you can choose whether someone's going to be a presenter, a co-organizer, etc. And through mute notifications and pin or hide your own video, Teams could be better help you focus on your meeting objectives. We can ensure all voices are being heard and seen by the order of raised hands in a meeting. So you'll see a little number next to the hand to make it clear who to address first. And on mobile, the revamped overflow menu helps prioritize key actions like viewing chat, and it's optimized for phone screens. Also on mobile, the notification drawer, which allows users to preview, collapse and clear all the notifications with one tap. Another exciting new announcement at Ignite was Mesh for Teams. It can help us create more vibrant and interactive connections, but virtually. These immersive spaces seamlessly integrate with your favorite Office apps, and the feature combines the mixed reality capabilities of Microsoft Mesh, which allows people in different physical locations to join collaborative and shared holographic experiences with the productivity tools of Teams. So people can join virtual meetings, send chats, collaborate on shared documents and more. Mesh for Teams, which anyone will be able to access from standard smartphones and laptops, and also mixed reality headsets, is designed to make those online meetings more personal and engaging and fun. And it's also a gateway to the metaverse, our persistent digital world that's inhabited by digital twins of people, places and things. So if you think of the metaverse as a new version or a new vision of the internet, one where people can gather to communicate and collaborate and share with personal virtual presence on any device. The first step for most users for Mesh for Teams will be to join a standard Teams meeting, but they can include a customized avatar of themselves instead of a static picture or being on video. And organizations can build immersive spaces or metaverses within Teams. So Mesh for Teams users can take their avatars into those spaces, mix and mingle and collaborate on projects. So look out for Mesh for Teams entering preview in the first half of 2022. Then we have intelligent speakers, which can be deployed into the room as well. These devices can be partnered with EPOS and Yealink and allow attendees to use transcript to follow along or capture actions. So much like the speaker attribution I was talking on transcriptions when you're remote, actually being able to identify people in the room as well. And of course, to enable privacy and security, users are in full control and can turn that attribution on or off at any time. And when joining a meeting in a companion mode in a Teams room, features like the video will be turned on automatically, but the audio turned off by default. The video will be hidden from the front of room display from the gallery. We have check-in features that will be on the Teams panel. So in the top right corner there, these are devices that can be put on the outside of meeting rooms to show the meeting room availability. And finally, just to talk about our front row view, which is a new layout in Teams meetings, so to give people in the room a greater sense of connection to remote participants and support the collaboration before, during and after meetings. Visually, this layout gives much more, it moves the video gallery to the bottom of the screen, so room participants can see the colleagues face to face on a horizontal plane. So to summarise, our vision of meeting rooms in the future as we roll out and we continue to innovate for hybrid, the meeting rooms will be designed for everyone, including those not in the room. Remote attendees are empowered to be as present and collaborative as those in the room. The future of meetings will be to deliver more immersive experiences in terms of both video and spatial audio, where everyone can sit face to face, even with remote participants. And these experiences will be designed for all sized room configurations. Very quickly, I just wanted to talk about the some of the examples that we've seen in policing and taking advantage of Microsoft Teams and meeting room technology. One of these being North Yorkshire Police. They serve the largest county in England and Wales and found they were spending up to an hour travelling between 3 custody suites due to the geography and landscape. So they deployed a solution allowing over 75% of interviews to be dealt with remotely in Teams and be able to get suspects access to solicitors remotely. They've had great feedback from both officers and suspects and seen travel time and savings and more efficient use of time. Along with normal use cases for internal meetings and carrying out training and superintendent extensions, it's been a great success for those involved. And there's a really good webinar dedicated on the NEP website, talking to Richard Ogden, Inspector Richard Ogden, how this was achieved. I believe Notts have also a new custody suite and also deployed Teams. And we have examples such as the Marek meeting. So Cumbria have completed work for this. This is the Multi-Agency Risk Assessment Conference, which is a meeting where information is shared on the highest risk domestic abuse cases between representatives for local police, probation, health and child protection, and even housing practitioners and independent domestic violence advisors, and other specialists from the statutory and voluntary sectors. After sharing all information about a victim, representatives discuss how they can increase the safety for that victim and turn these options into a coordinated action plan. Previously, these were occurring monthly and paper-based reading through the cases. Now they're running on Teams and joint committee with healthcare and social workers, so they're able to collaborate digitally, and the longest period now that the review takes place is reduced to 1 week. Another example is the Met, who are using Surface Hub for Cressida Dick's Gold Command briefings. Originally, they ran a POC for Surface Hub during the time that Wave 1 of COVID hit, and they quickly pivoted, and this was used by Gold Command as a tactical endpoint of choice to discuss COVID response. And finally, my absolute favourite example of this is Thames Valley and Hampshire. I think Notts Police have done this as well. They've all had great success in using drones and using capture cards to share live video streams in Teams meetings. So be able to share feeds back to the control room or officers on the ground by clicking on a dedicated stream link or being invited to one from any location across multiple platforms. So really realising cost savings compared to conventional air asset deployments. Using a combination of Surface Pro and Surface Go, by default, these are very strong and durable devices on their own, but partnered with ruggedized case that give even more durability in the field. So I'm really looking forward to see what other innovations the Force has come up with to leverage the Microsoft technology. So with that, I just want to hand back to, I think it's Ian Original, just to talk about how they can help with your digital transformation and adopting Teams.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Lee. I'm just going to request control if you're okay to keep presenting.
Yep, sure.
Perfect. So if we move the slide on. Oh, let's go to the next one. So with everything that Lee and Liam have been through, obviously, it's all clearly based around sort of Microsoft Office and M365, and more importantly, and more focused around collaboration and the Teams element of the solutions and the services as well. We've been working now for many years, both with our colleagues at Police Digital Service and within the National Enablement Programs as well. So we've got really good history and also experience at deploying the design refresh 1, 2, and more recently the version 3 that's now been released. And we're also working continuously with them as well to continue to make sure that the new services that Lee's just been going through, how are they going to be used within police forces, and what are the security elements that we need to consider as we're rolling out some of these new features as well. So we're working with those all the time. So obviously, as a force listening to this, whether you're listening on the call now or whether this is something you're listening back to through YouTube or through other means, this is something we can definitely help you with, and the rolling out of Teams. Hopefully you've done some of this already. You've established Teams. If you haven't, we've developed a quick start. This is something we actually developed sort of last year, actually, when COVID really started to hit. So we picked up on the fact that clearly a collaboration method was needed in many organisations, not just police forces. So we developed a little quick start offering, which really helps you to kind of hit the ground running with Teams, get it deployed quickly. We developed some scripts and some techniques to really deploy a kind of standardized lockdown secure offering using Teams, enable your users to kind of get onto it and use kind of some of the key component parts of it, and in particular the meeting side of it. And we have that kind of out of the box as a sort of off the shelf solution that we then offer support services for as well. So as your own skills are getting up to speed with looking after Teams, our support services can help you to look after that as well. So yeah, we have that. It fits into a wider portfolio suite. So that's the quick start on the screen. If I just move that forward one, our quick start really fits into a wider suite and a wider portfolio of offerings and consultancy services that we can provide you at Visual. So if you've already been there and you've done some of that with Teams already, so maybe the quick start isn't quite relevant for you. If you're looking at, okay, could we review what we've done with Teams? Could you have a look to help us to see how we could extend it and make more use of it? The other thing that we're finding, as well as especially within police forces, is around the adoption of it as well. So we have things like business analysis services, and we use things like ADCAR methodologies as well to help to really impart the reasons and the features of using collaboration and Teams and the modern work and modern meetings. So we can help your organisation and the force to really help to take on all of these features and functionality that we've got available to us. So clearly, come and talk to us. This next slide here just kind of goes into a bit more detail as to how the quick start would be delivered. So it kind of really focuses in on Teams to Teams calling, some of the collaboration elements. We offer then some support services, which is covered on an 8 to 6 Monday to Friday basis as well. So again, if that's of interest, please do get in touch. And if I go to the final slide, just to kind of finish off, really, it wouldn't be a webinar, it wouldn't be a meeting without an offer. So we've developed this free consultancy session as well. So again, thinking about what we've talked through all through today about what kinds of services and what kinds of devices you might have available to you, but also the features within Teams and how that could support the force and how you're collaborating internally, but then how you know, how that interacts potentially with the general public as well. We heard a really good case study there around custody suites. Now, again, if you want some more information about that as well, I would recommend you go to the National Enablement Programme website. You may all be familiar with it anyway, but if you go to that website, and then there is a use case and some videos there, which all of those and then some additional ones as well are kind of listed there, so you can kind of watch some of those back and really hear and understand how some of the other forces are using Teams on a day-to-day basis and how they're using it to really help. Now, all of that, as I say, and maybe looking at where you're at on the journey of either Design Refresh 2 or Design Refresh 3 and how you're deploying that, how you're, if you've got any questions, queries around it, if you need any support to get that done. Also, going outside of Teams for a second, anything around Azure and sort of cloud transformation, back-end sort of data center transformation as well. Clearly, we can offer support services and consultancy around that. So just to understand where you're at and how we can help, we're offering, let's say, this free consultancy session. So please get in touch with us. We've got some telephone numbers and an inquiries email there to get in touch with us through. If you're already a customer of ours, then please do contact Caroline, Abby as well, who are generally the police account managers. So hopefully you'll know those already. And then we can work with you. Obviously, if you do reference the November 21 code, then we'll know that you've kind of got the code from this webinar, and we can maybe even offer you some discounts as well if you use the code. So please do get in touch with us, and we'll see what we can do. I think because of the time, I was going to offer it open to questions, but I think what we'll do is, if it's okay, we'll close it there. If you do have any questions, as I say, contact us via the inquiries line. And all I'll say is, Liam, brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. Really insightful for myself, and hopefully it's been really insightful for the attendees on the webinar today.
Thanks all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.